Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Just thought I'd do a short video today to give you a heads up on a camera that I was at a photography group meeting just recently, and a lady there had this camera that used to belong to her late husband, and she wanted to know if I could get it going or how it worked. It's a film camera, and showed it to me, and I'd never seen anything quite like it before, so I'm going to show it to you. I've put a film in it now, and I put a new battery in it. I'll show you just a few of the quirks, and I'll read out a few things I've got on the screen over here about it. And I've got a film in it at the moment, and once I've processed the film, and maybe I'll put another one in, then if I get anything back from the film lab, I'll review this again and show you what the results were. But anyway, some of you might have heard it before. It's a beautiful little case like that, and you open it up. I'll take here's the case. You might have already guessed what it is if you've had one of these, but I'll just take this off the back of it here, the case there. It's an Agfa Optima 500 sensor film camera. There you go. And it's got a little orange spot on the top here, and it's an automatic camera. You do have, and it's got zone focusing, so you've got some I don't know whether you'll be able to see this on here, but you've got some zone focusing things up here, you see. Where are we? On the front here, there's some zone focusing rings there. So we've got a far distance setting, and we've got a large group setting, and we've got a couple of close-up type people, and then you go all out, which is a lot closer with this one here. So it's got what, 1, 2, 3, 4 zone focusing settings. You can actually it's an automatic camera, but you can actually down here, if you want to use it on automatic, you've got an A up there on the lens barrel there. I don't know if you see that A there. Where is it? Just there underneath my finger there somewhere. There's an A there. You set that on auto, and hopefully it auto exposes your camera and gives you the right the right option of combination of shutter speed and aperture. And but apart from that, if you're using flash, you have got some settings underneath where you can actually set the aperture for your flash all the way from f2.8, f4, f5.6, f8, f11, f16 and f22. And apart from the zone focusing, which I showed you on the top there before, there's also a focusing ring down the bottom there that shows you the approximate distances when you are focusing. So it's a bit like an old rangefinder camera or non-rangefinder camera. It's not a rangefinder camera, so you've got to guess the distance. And you've got to set the ISO yourself. It's got a very interesting rewind button situation down here, and on the front the actual rewind button or wind on button is this one down here, but when you want to rewind the film, you just flick a switch on the front here. You push it forward and push it upwards. You see that just near my finger there? You push that forward and push it upwards, and then the lever doubles as a rewind button. So it's a bit tricky, and when you open the back up, I put a film in it now, but when you open the back up, it doesn't look like the normal inside of a 35mm film camera. These sort of slot things that you just slide the thing in underneath this slot. I know that sounds a bit like what you normally do, but trust me, when I get the film back and I open up and I might put another film in, I'll show you what it looks like. I've already got a film in here at the moment, so I can't do it at the moment, but it's quite unusual the way that works. The film I've put in it at the moment is an out-of-date film that I found in my collection, and it's a Kodak Gold 24 exposure. It's got all Japanese writing on it, and this was produced for the Olympic Games, I think, somewhere. Where does it say that? I saw that on here somewhere. Yes, it's got the Olympic rings on the front there, and the expiry date is on this one was February 2007, so it's an old film, and it's a 200 ISO 24 exposure 35mm film. So I'm going to test that out. One of the things I couldn't work out, which if you get one of these you'll have trouble working it out unless you look at the manual. You can find a manual or some information on the internet. I'll read out some of what's on there in a minute. There's not a lot. Some people have done some reviews of this camera. There's not a lot out there on the internet about it. But the thing here is to actually, I'll just take this bottom part here, this leather bit off of here, so you can just see the bare bones of the camera. So there's the underneath of the camera, and there's the top, and you've got a hot shoe up here where you can put a flash on it. And what was I going to share with you then? So that's the bare bones of the camera. There was something else I was going to show. Oh, that's right, the battery compartment. So when I got it, I thought it's supposed to have a battery in it to work the light meter. It's got a light meter in it, but where is that? Well, the light meter, the batteries actually, see this little rectangle here, and you can see that in there, that rectangle just there underneath my finger. Now that pulls out, but you've got to have sharp fingernails to get it out, because it won't come out easily. So you've got to put your fingernails underneath it somehow, and I keep biting mine, so I've got to try and get it out now. But you prise it out. It's gradually starting to come out. And I had to go and buy a battery because there wasn't a battery, or there was a battery in it, but it was all corroded, and I cleaned it off. Here we go, it's coming. So there you go, you've got this little, where are we? Here's the screen over here. I keep dodging, I'm looking at the screen instead of the lens. So you've got this little thing here, you slot the battery in there, and that slots in that little compartment back there. So but I noticed that in there there's a contact in there. It's a bit loose, and when I shake it, so I'm not sure that this is really contacting with that compartment. So I'm not sure when I've taken a couple of shots with it. I'll push it back in, just snaps back in like that. It's not very convincing to me, but I can't really tell by looking through the viewfinder when I take the shots whether I'm getting any sort of adjustment of the aperture or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see what I've got when I get that film back. Just a few things I'll read off of here. If you can just bear with me looking at the screen over here. The Optima 500 sensor made by Agfa and introduced in 1969 as part of the Optima sensor range is a fairly eccentric, I would agree with that, I hadn't seen anything like it before, a fairly eccentric 35mm film viewfinder camera with automatic exposure. Like all Agfa sensor cameras, it has the large round orange shutter release on the top. There is also a cable release socket on the back. The advance lever is on the bottom plate to the user's left, and this doubles as the rewind lever. To rewind the rewind release mounted beside the lens is moved in towards the lens and upward where it latches. The advance lever is now reverse geared to be a rewinder. Opening the back using the catch on the right hand end releases the film spool drive spindle, which springs out of the bottom plate and resets the rewind release. The exposure meter is a CDS meter. This lens has 3 focus zones visible from the top and a distance scale underneath. Semicircular film speed scale in the top plate with pointers at opposite ends for the DIN and the ASA or ISO. Manually reset frame counter in the bottom plate. Flash can be connected via a hot shoe, which has a pin to detect the flash gun. A guide number scale is fitted in the right hand end. So the lens is an Agfa Color Aperture 42mm f2.8. They say it's a very good lens. Shutter is a paratic speeds, 1/30th of a second up to 1/500th of a second plus B for bulb exposure. The power is a PX625 battery placed where the advance lever might be expected. Look for the rectangle on the top right of the camera back. This is the battery tray of the chamber. There you go. That's when I read that. That's the only way I could find out where the battery went. So it's an interesting little camera. And when I've put this through its paces and I've taken it back to Barbara, or I might put another film in it after, depending on what happens. I'll take this to the film lab probably in a couple of weeks, and then when I get the results back, if there's anything there, I'll show it to you in a follow-up interview to this one. So there you are. It's the Agfa Optima 500 sensor camera. So beautiful looking, it feels beautiful, nice little metallic camera, and it's just, this one's in mint condition really, apart from I'm not too sure about the battery compartment, and the lens looks really nice and clean on the front there. So I don't know whether you can read that, whether it's going to focus on there. I'm using my little Olympus OMD EM5 Mark II again, so hopefully that's focusing. So there you go. So once again, thanks for watching. Like if you like, subscribe if you wish, and I'll see you next time.